At 03:17 a.m., deep in the frozen forests of the Bryansk region, a massive Russian logistics train is tearing down the track at 40 miles per hour. The flatbeds are stacked high with crates of high-tech tank engines, replacement transmissions, and specialized optics, the vital organs needed to bring Russia's damaged armor back from the dead. The engineer checks his console expecting a clear path, but suddenly the track signal ahead blinks from green to a solid blood-red stop. The engineer slams the emergency brakes, sparks flying as thousands of tons of steel screech to a halt. And he has parked this volatile cocktail of explosives and expensive components on a narrow 30-foot wide bridge spanning a frozen river. To understand why this train is so exposed, you have to look at the map. Right now, the Kremlin is obsessed with the Arctic. Following headlines about the US interest in Greenland, Putin has been shifting his elite rapid response units north, believing the threat is coming from the polar circle. Moscow is staring so hard at the icebergs that they miss the digital ping in their own backyard. Western intelligence agencies, monitoring the Arctic shift, spotted the gap in Russia's internal defense grid and immediately flashed the coordinates to Kyiv. Ukraine didn't hesitate. They selected this exact moment for a reason. The train is stopped. The single Pantsir S1 bodyguard, normally a lethal threat, is currently useless. Its radar is confused by the dense forest ground clutter flanking the bridge, a blind spot that the intelligence report highlighted perfectly. At 03:19 a.m., a Ukrainian Shark UAS circling silently at 5,000 feet sends the final confirmation packet to the bunker. Target static. Bridge blocked. That is the starting gun. 10 miles away, in a snow-covered clearing near the border, the silence of the forest is shattered by the high-pitched whine of electric motors. 12 Wild Hornet heavy-lift FPV drones lift off in unison, their 10-inch carbon fiber frames shivering in the 15-degree air. These aren't the cheap suicide drones you see on Telegram. These are long-range interceptors equipped with experimental AI terminal guidance modules and 5-pound TBG-7V thermobaric warheads. The operator in the bunker isn't flying them directly yet. He is routing his signal through a Vampire Baba Yaga heavy drone, hovering high above the tree line to act as a flying signal repeater. This airborne relay is the only way to maintain a video link over such a distance in a heavy electronic warfare environment. It's like trying to thread a needle from the next room using a mirror. The swarm dives low, hugging the terrain at 50 feet, shaving the tops of the pine trees. This flight profile, known as Nap of the Earth, keeps them physically underneath the radar horizon of the Russian air defense grid. For the next 3 minutes, the operator is fighting physics. The wind gusting through the river valley threatens to slam the Wild Hornets into the timber, while the signal latency creeps up with every mile traveled. His hands are shaking, adrenaline dumping into his system, but the drones fly with robotic steadiness. They are a synchronized pack of wolves invisible to radar, silent against the wind, racing toward a bottleneck that Russian incompetence created and Western intelligence helped exploit. The train is just 2 miles out. The Pantsir S1 is still blind. The clock ticks down, 120 seconds. At 03:21 a.m., as the Wild Hornet swarm crests the final tree line just 800 yards from the bridge, the ambush loses its element of surprise. The Pantsir S1 sitting on the flat car is an autonomous killing machine, and it just cleared the ground clutter interference. Its 1RS-2-1E helmet engagement radar instantly snaps onto the lead drone, identifying the thermal signature against the cold winter sky. The reaction is faster than human reflexes allow. The turret spins 180 degrees in a fraction of a second, and a 57E6 two-stage missile roars off the rail. Accelerating to Mach 4 instantly, the missile closes the distance before the drone operator can even blink, detonating its fragmentation warhead and turning the lead scout into a cloud of burning plastic and lithium. The train erupts into organized chaos. The single missile launch acts as a wake-up call for the 30-man escort detail riding in the armored personnel car. They pour out onto the snowy tracks, their AK-12 rifles equipped with thermal optics scanning the tree line. Within seconds, the air is filled with red tracers as they lay down a wall of suppression fire, trying to create a barrier of lead between the drones and the fuel tankers. Simultaneously, the Russian commander authorizes the panic button. The electronic warfare officer activates the Pol 21 jamming system at full power, flooding the entire river valley with high-intensity radio noise designed to sever the video link between the Ukrainian operator and his swarm. On the operator's screen in the bunker, the video feed fractures into digital static. The smooth 1080p image dissolves into blocky, freezing artifacts as the jamming signal overwhelms the control frequency. The Vampire repeater drone struggles to push the signal through the electronic smog. To any standard GPS-guided weapon, this would be the end of the mission. The drones would drift aimlessly or crash into the trees. The Russians think they have won the electronic duel. They believe the wall of noise has blinded the attackers. But they are about to learn that Ukraine brought a new kind of predator to the fight, one that doesn't need a pilot to find its prey. At 03:22 a.m., the Russian electronic warfare officer watching his console breathes a sigh of relief. His spectrum analyzer confirms that the Pol-21 has successfully flooded the 2.4 GHz and 5.8 GHz bands with blinding noise. By every textbook definition of 20th century warfare, the Ukrainian attack has been neutralized. The control link is severed. The drones should be drifting harmlessly into the snow or initiating emergency auto-landing protocols. But they aren't. In the bunker, the Ukrainian operator hasn't smashed his controller in frustration. He simply toggles a switch labeled autonomous. Inside the remaining 11 Wild Hornets, a commercial-grade NVIDIA Jetson AI module running Saker Scout target recognition software wakes up. The drones stop listening for radio signals and start looking. The software instantly processes the video feed, recognizing the sharp contrast of the dark locomotive against the white snow. It ignores the trees, ignores the jamming, and draws a digital green box around the engine block and the fuel tankers. They are no longer remote-controlled toys, they are self-guided missiles. This is the checkmate. The Russians are blasting megawatts of jamming energy at a radio receiver that isn't even turned on anymore. Furthermore, the trap's geography turns the Pantsir's greatest strength into its fatal weakness. The narrow 30-foot bridge acts as a choke point, forcing the train into a linear kill zone where it cannot maneuver. The surrounding forest creates so much radar noise that the Pantsir's computer struggles to distinguish between a diving drone and a swaying pine tree. It is like trying to swat a swarm of angry wasps in a dense jungle while wearing fogged-up glasses. The Russian defense is fighting the terrain, while the AI drones are using it as a weapon. The swarm locks on. The jamming is irrelevant. The hunt is terminal. At 03:23 a.m., the engagement devolves into a frantic, close-quarters brawl. The Pantsir S-1, realizing its missiles are useless at this short range, switches to its dual 2A-38M 30mm autocannons. These guns scream at a combined rate of 5,000 rounds per minute, spewing a solid stream of high-explosive fragmentation shells that create a wall of shrapnel in front of the bridge. 2 Wild Hornets fly directly into this meat grinder and are instantly vaporized, their debris raining down onto the frozen river. The Russian infantry squad, emboldened by the kill, floods the flanks, throwing flares and firing wild bursts to create a visual barrier of smoke and light, hoping to confuse the optical sensors of the attackers. But the AI doesn't feel fear, and it doesn't get distracted by fireworks. The remaining 8 drones don't fly with the smooth, hesitant curves of a human pilot. They move with jerky mathematical precision, executing micro-adjustments 100 times a second to dodge the incoming tracer fire. The Russian commander screams for his EW officer to increase the jamming power, not realizing he is fighting a ghost. The electronic spectrum is already saturated, but the drones are relentless, closing the distance at 90 miles per hour. The Pantsir's tracking computer, designed to handle 4 simultaneous targets, suddenly flags 8 distinct threats converging from 3 different azimuths. The system logic freezes, cycling rapidly between targets, unable to prioritize which lethal threat to kill first. It is a classic system overload, a saturation attack executed by software. The Russian gunner tries to take manual control, wrestling the joystick to track the erratic movements of the swarm, but he is too slow. The AI logic designates the targets. 2 drones for the locomotive to kill the escape route, and 6 for the payload. They split formation, diving past the frantic infantry and the spinning turret of the bewildered air defense system. The defense collapses not because of a lack of firepower, but because of a lack of bandwidth. The wall has been breached. At 03:24 a.m., the onboard camera of the lead Wild Hornet fills with the terrifying image of the Russian diesel locomotive. The Pantsir S-1 makes one last desperate attempt, swinging its cannons around, but the turret moves with the sluggishness of heavy machinery trying to catch a mosquito. It is simply too late. The Russian engineer, seeing the black shape diving at his windshield, pulls the emergency brake handle so hard it snaps off in his hand. But physics doesn't care about his panic. The first drone slams directly into the engine compartment. The TBG-7V thermobaric warhead detonates, instantly creating a fireball of superheated gas that expands at 3,000 meters per second. It doesn't just damage the train, it decapitates the beast. The 400,000-pound locomotive shudders and dies, trapping the rest of the convoy on the icy bridge, but the real horror for the Russians is just beginning. As the first fireball rises, the remaining 6 drones execute their programmed logic. They don't aim for the armor, they aim for the liquid. They dive into the 10 rail tank cars carrying thousands of gallons of JP-8 fuel. The impacts are simultaneous. The thin steel walls of the tankers rupture under the shaped charges, atomizing the fuel into a mist that meets the burning wreckage of the locomotive. The result is a chain reaction that looks less like a weapon and more like a natural disaster. A shockwave of 180 psi rips through the bridge structure. The Russian commander screams, "Evacuate!" into his radio, but his voice is drowned out as the ammunition cars begin to cook off. In the bunker, the Ukrainian operator leans back, his heart pounding against his ribs. The jamming failed, the missiles failed, but the code worked. The AI didn't just save the mission, it just closed the line. The lead drone's impact isn't just an explosion, it's a decapitation. The 5-pound thermobaric warhead vaporizes the locomotive's cabin, instantly turning the 400,000-pound engine into a burning roadblock. The damage assessment for the Kremlin is catastrophic. They didn't just lose 20 engines for their T-90M tanks or tons of ammunition. They lost the line itself. That is 3 weeks where frontline units will scream for spare parts and fuel that will never arrive. This is the price of the Greenland gamble. While Vladimir Putin was busy shifting his elite air defense units to the Arctic to counter a geopolitical phantom, he left his own backyard exposed. He thought a single Pantsir S-1 and a wall of electronic jamming could stop anything. He was wrong. Ukraine didn't fight the jammer, they simply ignored it. They turned a $50,000 swarm of commercial parts and open source AI code into a weapon that defeated a $15 million defense system.